before we begin at Royal Roads University, it's incredibly important to acknowledge our traditional lands. So Royal Roads University does acknowledge that we are on the traditional lands of the Wisepsum and Lekwungen ancestors and families, and it is with deep gratitude that we live, work, and play on these lands and where the future of Indigenous and non-Indigenous students come together. Thank you so much for being here. So without further ado, the reason that we're all here today, of course, is our graduate certificate in Transforming Child Protection to Wellbeing. Again, my name's Ariana, and I'm delighted to be here. I'm an education specialist at Royal Roads University, and I'm thrilled to be joined by Dr. Kathleen Manion, who is the program head of the grad certificate. So we will have a great conversation here for you today. We'll go through a little agenda. So welcome and introductions, that's what we're doing now. I'll just speak briefly on the Royal Roads experience, and then I'll pass it off to Kathleen for a program overview, and we'll speak a little bit about the application requirements and have some questions and conversation at the end. So we'll discuss a little bit about the power of our place. So Royal Roads University is a university in Victoria, British Columbia. We have a beautiful campus, as you can see from these photos. On the top left, we have Hatley Castle, which is a castle that's been in many movies like X-Men and Deadpool. So we're very fortunate to have really beautiful lands. We also have a Japanese garden, you can see to our top right, as well as many natural spaces. And it's just nice to be on campus to clear your head and really have a moment of focus. We also have the Esquimalt Lagoon to the bottom left, and that is a migratory bird sanctuary. So again, very beautiful. And we've also been doing online education. So Royal Roads does online and blended programs as well as on-campus programs. So we have a deep history of online learning, which we're very fortunate for. So long before COVID, we were doing this. And it really provides a nice blended experience of having the online component and the in-person component on our beautiful campus. So without further ado, I will go ahead and pass it off to Kathleen, who will go over the program structure of this wonderful graduate certificate. Kathleen?
Lovely. Thank you so much, Ariana. It's wonderful to see people here, and I am just delighted to be able to share a little bit about this program. It has a bit of a mouthful of a title in Transforming Child Protection to Wellbeing. But that's quite a descriptive title that gives you a sense of what we're actually looking at in the program, is looking at how we can look at the systems that we currently have, look at some of the failures that our systems have brought in for our children, and explore ways to transform them so that we're more focused on child well-being. So this is, at the moment, a graduate certificate. We are hoping that we can very soon move into a full graduate diploma and a master's degree. But at the moment, we have 9 credits, 3 4-credit courses, but I'll share a little bit about that in a few minutes. Overall, the idea behind Transforming Child Protection to Wellbeing is really about giving people some space to imagine a different system that better recognizes child well-being and what that means, and how we as practitioners working for children and their families can better adapt to the needs of those children, young people, and families. So there's a few things that we pull on in our course design. We are strengths-based, so we work with children, families, and their communities to explore what are the strengths and how can you amplify those strengths to better meet the needs. We're also outcomes-based, so looking at what are the short, medium, and long-term outcomes and how can we bolster those in the work that we do in collaboration with children themselves, but also their families and communities. We also are taking a critical perspective on child protection. We know that it has served us to a certain point within the Canadian context, but also in the international context. But we know that there is so much more that we can do. So some inherent issues that come in with child protection, about the paternalism, about unfair treatment of particular children and families is something that requires us as practitioners to have a critical perspective on the things that are working and the things that aren't working, so that we can find the leverage points to make some change that hopefully will have meaning for the clients that we serve in a variety of different sectors and disciplines. So the other thing that we like to do is ensure that we are grounding our work in a theoretical perspective, understanding what the theories are coming from a range of different places, from child development to children's rights, to legal frameworks, to sociological, criminological, but also psychological perspectives, bring those theories into play, but also explore how do you make that practical. And all of our instructors in this program are well-versed in traversing the weaving, really, of theoretical and practical aspects. They all have significant amounts of experience working within the Canadian context, but actually more so within the international context. Focused on child protection, but also child and family welfare and what that looks like within local communities in Canada, but also across other continents in the world. Exploring concepts of child development, what we know about child development, what's emerging from the research, but also children's rights, which is dear to my heart, exploring the concepts of children's rights. Just reminded, just last week, this time of year, every year, I get to go into elementary school and work with young students and share concepts about children's rights with them. And my goodness, it's been a while because of COVID that I've actually been able to go into classrooms. The last few years, we've been doing it online. But now it just warms your hearts, the kind of questions that the kindergarten students share with you or the grade 2 students share with you in terms of children's rights. So good reminder why we do this, why I am doing this work. I digress. Also looking at, as I've already articulated a little bit, that we're looking at both international and local knowledge and capacities. So one of the things that's been really fantastic about the program so far, and that we've learned from the program so far, is the weaving of knowledges from our Indigenous students and knowledge keepers that are supporting the program, and those of our instructors who are coming from international context. So weaving the knowledges between these two things to give us a better sense of what are the benefits and what are the challenges within our traditional child protection, child welfare systems. And with that, the other thing that we're pulling on in the program is looking at a systems perspective. So not just a single area, but looking at the whole system. What are the multiple systems that touch the lives of children and their families? We just had a wonderful guest panel in our class, which was with the head of the Families of Doctors of BC, along with another healthcare professional, really just to talk about what are the challenges from a health perspective and how does that weave with education for children, and how, again, does that weave with the legal system, and understanding some of those challenges, but also leverage points for understanding how can we make change within these systems that impact our children so profoundly. So that gives you an overview of some of the principles behind what we're doing. So the other thing that's quite unique and I'm quite excited about in terms of this program is it was built in tandem, not only with Royal Roads University, that comes to this space with a lot of experience and knowledge about running blended programs and online programs, of course, in graduate education. Myself, I come from a background of working with child systems that support children to thrive, but we also did this in tandem with two other international not-for-profit organizations, or one not-for-profit organization, the International Institute of Child Rights and Development, which is quite well known in the area of participatory methods and working with children and young people as leaders within change processes, and another group, the Child Frontiers, that is working in a number of countries around the world, really pushing policy changes with a range of consultants in those countries to better understand how to better protect and better support the well-being of children and young people. So that was quite a neat space to be in, to have this collaboration between these three partners to develop this quite unique program. And the instructors are drawn from all three of these institutions. So in building the program itself, we looked to UNESCO and their learning outcomes framework. Royal Roads University has a really unique and beautiful learning, teaching, and research model that draws on a range of different domains. But one of them is that we focus on learning outcomes. And in drafting our learning outcomes for this program, we looked to UNESCO, which developed these 5 domains: the concept of learning to know. And in this space, we're looking at those theoretical concepts and knowledge in child well-being and how we can integrate them. We looked at how is this practical, the learning to do. We explore concepts of research, concepts of effective communication, concepts of what is the way that we're actually practicing this. And I'm just looking at this picture. Of course, I've seen this picture many, many times, but we do have here Cheryl Haycoop, who also supported the development of this program. And in this picture, she is actually illustrating one of those processes for learning to do and developing this, or leading this circle exercise. Just going to close my shade here as I can actually see. It's beautiful to see the sun, but so the next learning outcome that we're looking at is learning to be. So one of the things that sets Royal Roads apart, but of course UNESCO has also done this, but the concept of you are part of the system that you're actually looking at. So one of the things we really ask you to do is look internally, to do a lot of self-reflection. So we are exploring self-awareness, how you are showing up with others and collaborating and connecting, but that work does require some self-reflection. So that is really important to the work that we do. Learning to live together is the thing that comes after that. Looking at collaborative leadership, how do you progress that? Looking at working across cultures and communities, and understanding the interdependence that we have between one another, and learning to really respect but learn from difference and different knowledge systems. And finally, the last one is learning to transform self and society. So tying those things together, looking at systems thinking, using inquiry as a basis for better understanding systems and yourself, exploring in a strength-based way how you can reframe things, and really pulling on creativity. There are a few experts amongst our faculty who really focus on play-based pedagogy, which is great to have. This gives you an overview of the content. So looking at the structure, it is a 9-month program. We do have 3 4-credit courses and 2 non-credit courses. So I'm going to start at the end of this page and talk about the non-credit courses. To support you into the program, we have these 2 courses. One is an introduction to academic integrity. All Royal Roads students take this course just to remind people who haven't been in academia for a while, what are the parameters for conducting yourself within university settings. Talks about APA, writing, 3-week course. We also have the Foundations for Success course, which again is orienting students to the Royal Roads Learning, Teaching, and Research model, helping you understand the way we navigate team-based work, helping you build community with one another. So from there, we'll move into the 3 courses in the program. We have the Foundations course, the first one, which is really starting to look at theoretical processes, and policies. So reframing child well-being in a complex global reality is exploring policies and practices and theories that are behind some of those policies and practices. From there, we move into 502, which is a practice-based course. This is really drawing on case studies for promoting children's well-being, drawn from Canada and around the world. This helps students to take some of those theoretical concepts and some of those practice pieces and build it into case studies and play a little bit with ideas in a variety of different ways. The third course is about applying this. This is actually going to be a blended course in the next iteration. So 504, Tools and Approaches for Change, is actually asking you as students to play with those concepts, take those tools and use them. So it goes through a range of different tools. It does favor participatory tools and approaches for research and for practice, but it gives you some space to actually apply those tools. So that one actually has a 1-week residency. So you'll come to Victoria to play with some of those concepts. So that's the program structure in a nutshell. Oops. Who have we designed this program for and who would benefit this program? We've designed it for a range of professionals. We recognize that there are interlocking systems that support children and their well-being, but we imagine this would be particularly helpful for those working in child protection, those working in child welfare or in child rights, either around the world or within local context here in Canada. We thought this would be quite useful for not-for-profit organizations, both within Canada or around the world, United Nations staff, policymakers, social workers, child rights advocates, frontline workers who are working directly with children or their families, those that are working at the policy level within government, researchers, and child and youth care workers. That's who we designed the program for. And the students that have coming into the program that have been taking these courses have come from those spaces, but they've also come from a wider range of professions as well. So it's really quite interesting as the program evolves to understand the different ways that individual students are connected to the concept of children's well-being. So I think it is there that I'm handing it back to Ariana.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you so much, Kathleen. That was wonderful. It's just so lovely to hear you speak about the program. So with that being said, folks, we will go ahead and jump into the how to apply part of the presentation. So if you are thinking about applying to this program, which I hope you are after all that wonderful information, we'll just go over a few things about the application process here. So Rural Roads is pleased to offer standard and flexible admission. So with the standard admission, we do look for a 4-year or comparable undergraduate degree in a relevant field, with a minimum GPA of a B+ from a recognized post-secondary institution. As well, we also look for at least 2 years of relevant work experience in some capacity with children. We prefer the leadership or management level. And then a personal statement as well, addressing how you consider your academic education to be relevant and related, which is wonderful because it gives you a chance to really kind of group your thoughts and really let us know why you would be a great fit for this program. We also offer flexible admissions, which is something that makes Royal Roads University incredibly unique. It's one of my favorite parts personally. So you can be considered for flexible admissions if you meet the degree requirement, but not the GPA requirement. And you will be required to have about a minimum of 5 years relevant professional experience. And if you don't have an undergraduate degree at all, you would normally require 10 years of work experience with a minimum of 2 years of relevant professional experience in a leadership or management position, or an equivalent combination of education and experience. And this is lovely because Royal Roads really considers people as holistic people, and you can submit your application and really work with an enrollment advisor, and they will let you know kind of which which process you might be a good fit for. And you will also need to explain, of course, in your personal statement how your work experience meets these requirements. And then, as Kathleen mentioned before, you will be required to take academic writing and critical thinking, which sounds like a wonderful course as well, just because it gets you in the frame of mind for academic work. So we do have some upcoming intakes, the first one being with a start date of May 1st, 2023. So the application deadline for that will be February 1st, 2023. So you still have some time to get your application in. We also have 2024 available. So that is April 29th, 2024, with an application deadline of January 29th, 2024. We also assess applications on a rolling basis. So you can not delay, you can submit your application now. And if you're wondering how to apply, we do have a lot of information. Thank you, Diana, for posting that on our website. Basically, you submit an online application fee of $131.39, and then you'll just be required to submit your supporting documents. So official transcripts, personal statement, as mentioned before, a structured resume, which is detailed, so we can really get to know you and your past experience, and 2 letters of reference. And those can be professional or personal, but we do prefer one of each. We also, of course, have services that are available to you, because we know going back to school, this is a really big step, right? So we have our wonderful financial aid and awards folks, and they have financial resources that are available to you. So loans, bursaries, scholarships, student research scholarships, and emergency funding, all those are available. Of course, the link for that is royalroads.ca/admission/financial aid awards. And they are really wonderful people. We also have enrollment services. So we have enrollment advisors that are available to you, and they can be reached at learn.more@royalroads.ca is their email. We also have a phone number there on the screen for North America and local. And they really help you narrow down your program options, answer your questions about your application, or connect you with students and alumni, which is really cool as well. So again, any questions, that would be our recommendations to reach out to enrollment services or financial aid and awards for financial questions. And with that, that brings us to a close. If you have any questions, now is an excellent time to pop them in the chat. But I will just pass it to Kathleen. If you have any last words to say to our folks here today, or anyone that's thinking about maybe applying to the program, just a couple last words.
Thank you so much. Yeah, a couple of last words. So that was a lot of information all at once. So we're really happy to answer any questions either now or later. One of the things that is interesting to think about also is that we do have a number of students, because this is a graduate certificate, 9 credits. There are a range of students within Royal Roads' other programs that are taking courses within this, who might also be thinking about taking the graduate certificate. As is the case with many of our graduate certificates across the university. You can certainly do that, so do reach out if you have questions about that. And also, I think that allowing this has also led to quite a few additional interesting conversations. So there, for instance, currently we have students in the current course that are coming from a range of different programs. Are coming from the Disaster and Emergency Management Program, the Leadership Program, the Global Leadership Program, the Professional Communication Program, the Conflict Analysis and Management Program, and I think Human Security and Peace Building, maybe even Justice Studies. So even there, this is a range of different topics that they're bringing into the fore to leverage and talk more about concepts of children's well-being. So that's useful.
Excellent. Thanks, Kathleen. Yeah, we have a question in the chat. I don't know if you can see it on your end there. It's from Aaron. Would you like me to read it out for folks?
I can read it out. Thank
Perfect.
you. Do you know the time frame of potentially a MA program in the near future? If I were to complete the graduate certificate now, would there be a bridge to eventually doing what might be offered later as an MA. Absolutely. So I can't talk about that in any certainty because, of course, there are many unknowns. I am hoping that we're going to see movement on this in the next few months. It does take a while to get approvals through not only our own processes within the university, but you also need ministerial approval within British Columbia for master's programs. So that could take anywhere from 2 years more. However, if you were to take the graduate certificate now, we would hopefully have more information so that you could be apprised of what's happening. But even if that wasn't an option, you do have the ability, in the same way that we have a range of students who are coming into the program from current programs within the university. As a graduate of the certificate program, you can potentially take your credits that you've gained from this and apply it to another program. Particularly, there are a range of specific programs you could do that for, but specifically the Master's in Interdisciplinary Studies is a popular path for students to choose. That is a program that has some core courses, but it is largely allowing students to take a range of courses from different programs across the university. So great question. Thank you for that. Ariana, other common questions that maybe we can just pre-answer for people?
Yeah, absolutely. As for the residency, Kathleen, what would a typical day, just because I know it is a big commitment, what would a typical day maybe in a residency look like for folks?
That is a great question. So this last year, we're following COVID protocols. So our last residency was virtual. So we are going to be developing it in this coming year. But what we envision for it is a Monday to Friday residency within the beautiful campus. I just want to stop and note that I am biased, of course, because this is where I work, but you do have a little shot of the campus behind Ariana there, of the castle, but it has to be one of the most beautiful campuses across Canada that I've seen. Maybe there's a more beautiful one, but of the ones I've seen, it is really quite a spectacular place. So it is the power of place. Being able to come on campus does really make a difference. We would typically have a program from 8:30 to 4:30 where you are joined with the rest of your cohort. You'll be working on, there'll be some lectures, you will be given some information, there'll be some guests coming in to share information with you. But typically you're going to be working in a team throughout those days to produce a project at the end, which is applying what you've learned from the program up to that point. So students find it quite enriching generally across programs in the university. So it is a good experience and oftentimes one of people's favorite parts of the Royal Roads experience.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Kathleen. And how about for just your day-to-day courses? What is the maybe time commitment if people are working and things like that, or have families? What does maybe the time commitment on a weekly basis look like?
Spot on. Thank you, Ariana. Those are indeed the questions I often get. So yes, day to day, each credit, sorry, let me start that again. Each course is worth 3 credits. Each credit is meant to be the equivalent of 33 hours of student effort. These courses are 11 weeks long, so you can anticipate that you are going to be working probably 5 to 7 hours a week. It's gonna vary from week to week, and it depends when you have your assignments due. It is largely asynchronous, so you can do it in your own time, but there might be from time to time live sessions. So typically we'll have 3 or 4 live sessions, which just gives you an opportunity to come together, to talk with your cohort, to really dig into some different concepts. We've been really pushing guest lectures in those sessions to bring a variety of perspectives into the classroom. So within the course shell itself, you're going to get a mix of readings, you're going to have forum discussions, you're going to have a range of activities that you are doing with one another. Sharing your ideas and thoughts asynchronously. You will have a range of videos, and although students don't particularly like this straight up, we often will ask you to do very short videos yourself to share. Not many people like having their videos taken, but they also do tend to enjoy being able to watch each other's. It is a way of creating community when you're not together in the same room. So that initial trepidation often starts to dissipate.
That's excellent. Thank you so much, Kathleen. One last question that we sometimes get is, what is a cohort like? I know you mentioned some of the types of people that this program was kind of built with them in mind, but as far as cohorts go, what types of people are we seeing in the program?
Great question again. So I'm going to step back a little bit and talk a little bit more about the learning research and teaching model at Royal Roads University. As I said, there are a number of domains under that. There are two that are important. One is that we do favor team-based work. We do look to the complex issues that we see in the world and know that we can't solve these issues alone. So the moniker of the university is life.changing. In looking at life.changing kinds of work, we know that we need to work together. So we do favor teamwork. So we definitely will put you in teams to work on challenging, complex, wicked problems. We also favor cohort-based models. We know that we as instructors bring a lot to the space, but we are really there to hold space and to support your journey through the process. And one of the things that's really beneficial, I find, is that we're also valuing the work experience and the lived experience of those that are coming to our classes. And that your cohort members are going to teach you as much as your readings and your instructors. So that's really important. And that's why we also do favor a model where we have flexible admission, because we're really supporting that concept. So what does the cohort look like? It really varies. So it's hard to say. I think one of the things that's easy to identify that is common is a passion for children's well-being. Right, whether someone's coming with lived experience of the child protection system, whether coming from education or educational assistance, or whether they're coming from policing, they're coming because they see that there is value in looking at alternative approaches. So we've had a range of people who are coming with policy experience, or who are working with bands, local bands, and looking at how can they rethink their approaches. We've also had UNICEF workers. It really has varied quite significantly. So again, the core common element there is that students are coming with a desire to support children's well-being. It's beautiful to see. Another question here I see, what's the approximate cost fee for the program, including the residency? And Ariana, I turn that to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Embreen, for your question. We appreciate that. The best place to go for costs or fees would be our enrollment has put some links in the chat. So if you go to just the program page, it has the upcoming intakes, and it'll say the cost fees for domestic and international, just depending on where you're coming from for the program. And again, the best place would be to connect with an enrollment advisor on that. So I will turn that over to the website just because it can vary just depending on where you're coming from and a number of factors. But thank you so much for your question. And I believe there is no other questions. Again, we welcome, if you want to pop anything else in the chat, yeah, you're welcome. You're more than welcome to, but I believe that wraps us up nicely, Kathleen. I don't have any other common questions for you, but I hope that gives folks a little bit of a better idea of some of the things that come up. And again, please connect with us if you have any further questions. And we're always available by email, and a copy of the recording will be sent to everybody who registered for this webinar. So that will be great. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. Just one thing I wanted to add to Abreen's question. So yes, absolutely. The website will tell you the fees for the program and tuition, but also in there was a question about residency. Of course, the cost of flights, depending on where you're coming in the world, are going to vary. Typically, students would stay on campus. Victoria is an expensive place to visit, I have to say. I'm a little bit alarmed by the rising cost of rents here, but also of tourist destinations. However, having said that, most students do stay on campus, which is an inexpensive approach, and we are looking at 5 nights. So it's not a massive investment, but again, maybe that's a question you can bring up with your enrollment advisor. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much, Kathleen. Yeah, that is important to note that the residency, of course, includes where you're coming from in the world, because we have so many wonderful folks who are joining us from different parts of the globe as well. So thank you so much again, everybody, for tuning in. We appreciate your time. If you have any questions, please reach out and we will look forward. We have some very exciting things coming up for our webinars in the new year. So please stay tuned, stay tuned for those exciting announcements to come. And we will see you at a future webinar. Have a great day, everybody.
Beautiful. Thank you. Bye, everyone.